up next, two Wildtile brothers crowned the Lego Masters Grand Final champions. The country's women and men's police beat City in the NSWRL, and plus Mitch Barnett getting ready as his final year of the Knights comes to an end. Details in NBN News next. Good afternoon, my name's Conklin McLeod with your local NBN News. Today, two Wildtile brothers win the Lego Masters Grand Final. An overhaul continues right up at the store in Newcastle. And Mitch Barnett desperate to leave the Knights on finals high. But first, they're the humble Wildtile brothers with an eye for colourful handiwork. Now, Joss and Henry Woodyard have been crowned Australia's Lego Masters, taking home more than $100,000 in Monday's Grand Final.
It was the 28 hours of a Lego Masters dreams. Brothers Joss and Henry constructing this eye-catching creation, earning them the Golden Bricked Trophy.
You're officially Lego Masters 2022
This moment, as well as the entire season, still feels surreal for the boys, who at just 24 and 21 have achieved their life's dream.
Okay, wow, we're actually on the show. Okay, wow, we're actually like halfway through the season. We're in the finale.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've won. Like, it's just insane.
The winning duo hails from the Newcastle suburb of Waratah. Building Lego creations has been a hobby since Joss was 5 and a passion for just as long.
Joss, has always wanted to go on the show, and he sort of asked, like, why don't you come on with me? I was like, yeah, all right.
The boys' winning creation was this masterpiece, the Kaiju monster battling a mecha crab.
There's a meme about a giant enemy crab, and I was like, what if there was a giant ally crab? Which is really stupid, but that was pretty much the seed of the whole build.
Being named Lego Masters comes with a pretty price tag, the boys taking home a $100,000 cash prize, plus an extra $50 from host Hamish Blake.
We're hoping, firstly, to frame the 50, frame the Hamish pineapple, because we think it's too good to just spend on groceries.
But the dream is far from over for the boys as Henry waits for his call-up to compete in Lego Masters All-Stars. Joss hopes to head to Denmark and build a career out of Lego.
So I've always wanted to be a Lego designer, like actually create the sets that people can buy and take home, build them themselves.
As for the whereabouts of last night's creation,
it's still together.
Yeah, we hope. Or maybe we can use the money to buy it off them.
Isabella Evans, NBN News.
The overhaul of one of Newcastle's most iconic sites continues. The next stage of apartments being built where the store once stood are now up for sale as part of a $200 million redevelopment.
A humble past made new again. This Newcastle site comes with the story of a century.
There's a really strong connection for most people in the community to the location and the site. The store is a really important part of the history of Newcastle.
After serving Novocastrians for 83 years, many of those long before big shopping centres, the store closed in the 1980s and the site saw a variety of other uses before the state government purchased it in 2017. The result, a shiny redevelopment in the form of office space and 350 apartments, aptly dubbed the store residences.
Got a third of the apartments sold already, but this is the first time the public in general get to see the sales suite.
And buy into the Western Tower. As the market shifts, real estate agents say apartments like these are becoming the preference for buyers, from working people to older Australians looking to downsize. It's also hoped the two-tower complex will complement the city's evolving transport hub.
Intercity rail, light rail, airport transfers, right at your doorstep.
The project is slated for completion by 2025. Isabella Evans, NBN News.
As people grapple with a housing crisis in the Hunter, man's best friend is suffering too. With dozens of animals handed to welfare agencies in the past week, dog rescue volunteers are calling for more foster carers, while tenants advocates want reform to prevent rental agreements banning pets, and a warning the issues are extremely confronting.
Hi, Bert. Hi, Bert. Good to see you again.
Bouncing back from a rough start to life on the Central Coast, Bert and Bloom have boundless energy.
They came in quite neglected as strays. They were very, very skinny.
The playful pair now clearly having a ball at Dog Rescue Newcastle, but more and more animals are coming volunteers' way, stretching foster families to the limit. 31 dogs last week alone.
We're getting about 5 emails a day saying, I need to surrender my dog. For many reasons, a housing crisis is probably the main reason.
Rental vacancy rates improved across the Hunter during April, rising to 1.7%, but housing supply remains an issue.
We're seeing that a lot of rental properties that are being advertised are saying no pets straight out, so people feel that they're not going to have the capacity to apply for those places. We talk to people who say that they're going to end up in their car because they just can't see to give away their pet, who is their companion.
Dog Rescue Newcastle is in the process of building this shelter, which will eventually house dozens of pups. And as you can see, it's already got Bert's approval. But there's only so much volunteers can do on their own. There are calls for more carers, but also broader change.
Ultimately, we'd probably like to see in the rental market probably more landlords agreeing to have dogs.
Tenancy law currently doesn't need a lot of change. Something like Victoria, where a landlord can't unreasonably refuse a pet.
Both the Housing and Fair Trading Ministers were contacted for comment. As for Bert and Bloom, they're up for adoption, but must stick together.
They're a real fun pair to be around, Bert and Bloom.
Sarah Giuliano, NBN News.
Refugees and asylum seekers will receive funded driving lessons in an effort to improve their access to education and employment. The City of Newcastle will fund 20 refugees to receive support under Catholic Care Hunter Manning's Refugee Hub driving program. Well, your local sport for Newcastle and the Hunter is coming up after the break, as the NSWRL's country police women and men secure huge victories over the city's women and men. Well, they usually get their job in time, and also arrest a lot of bad people for getting in trouble with the law, and also send them to life in jail. But out of dozens of male and female police officers took part in rugby league matches as part of the NSWRL. And because of that, it was country versus city. It was, of course, the women's versus men's. It's a match that started on Sunday, a New South Wales police match, not one but two of them, with the women up against, with the country women's police up against the city women. And of course, it was mate up against mate. And of course, country versus city. Both won 0-0. And of course, the game continued on, despite country receiving a penalty. And of course, whatever occurred, it was played right on a dry paddock. Thankfully, country had to fight to score the first try.
ankles after some good ball movement.
A try to the Country Women's Police.
Leaving the
They led 4-0 right up there. But now, all they had to do was to convert a goal. It was the right time to do a kick. And of course, it certainly was.
So Suckling looking to add the extras. The home
And she certainly did.
It's the upright and pops over.
With Country securing.
Conversion attempt there from the number 7 for the Countryside.
But however, the conversion was unsuccessful.
Takes it out 6-0.
But no, it of course. But of course, the conversion was successful, with Country leading 6-0. The goal, a conversion, it was yet to come. Now there had to be a restart, and of course, Country were the ones, and of course, the police usually arrest their colleague, and of course the police usually arrest baddies for doing a lot of bad stuff on the roads or in the cars. But however, they took on against. They had to play for charity, as it was time to play a special Country versus City match. But while Country was up against City, it was of course New South Wales' regional officers, not only from Newcastle but also from the rest of regional New South Wales as well.
Harvey collects it nicely. She looks up, she sees Country jumpers coming.
Meanwhile, it was time to go back on the run. And of course, Country had the ball as their police side ran away with it.
Breaks through 2, good strong run from the fullback from the Countryside. 6-0.
As the Country officers, who are now players, hailed from, of course, from regional New South Wales. That includes Newcastle as well.
Suckling gets an early kick nicely.
Then it all happened.
She has to clean it up.
The most cruciating tackle of all.
City now try and bring it up, bring it out through.
As Country quickly had a tackle right onto their City rivals. And of course, one of the audience members could be heard shouting, "Go left." And of course, they certainly did. But it wasn't for long before Country had the ball back.
Countryside just let the ball roll into touch. Both teams will have a.
As the Country Women's Police had a huge 6-0 lead over the City Women's Police. City were desperate to have a try scoring tie, but our Country was just too strong. Then suddenly, it all but worked for Country. Country had everyone going and talking.
Very, very well to do it. She gets a quick play the ball now. So get up quickly.
And of course, Country ran with the ball fast before throwing it in touch. And they certainly did.
Lynch rallying her troops. See all. That's a lot of difficult feet to see, or this countryside will be looking for a mistake here.
But it wasn't long before Country had to tackle their city rivals yet again.
Trying to go as wide as Ecclestone.
Plenty of tackles had to be made.
Ecclestone eventually wrapped up. Took a while to get to her feet. Another quick shift. More than happy to let it go. Melito now her first touch. She just made her way onto the field as well.
While City had the ball, the Countryside had to quickly try and stop them from scoring, and they certainly did.
They had a dummy half on the last. They haven't realised the call as her dad has to get the kick through again. It was a rush kick and eventually finds touch.
Then Country didn't have to wait for long as the ball went into touch.
12 minutes till the half-time break.
And it certainly was.
Getting City yet to score.
And of course, Country had the ball. It was the Country Women's Police up against City Women's Police. And also, there were minutes till half time. There was just about 11 minutes left on the clock.
Nice run there as she comes into the back.
A massive run came from Country.
She's touched the football. So far for the Country team. She does get the quick play.
Running briefly, Country then later had a good chance
Just finds touch.
to quickly find a good touch.
Once again, Country not happy to play in their own half, so they get it down to the other end. Making this City side work their way out. It'll be a handover. Of course, it's a play the ball.
But also, the handover was uncomfortable. Also, the handover was uncomfortable. But thankfully, Country had to defend their side.
Made the mistake there.
And also,
A risky pass from Greg.
with City dropping the ball,
Now the Countryside have jumped on this
Country
opportunity.
had to score a try. Not only just that,
Looks up. Which way will she go?
but
She
also
goes to the right.
kicking a goal as well.
Spinning. Lots of
But as the
chances.
Country Women's Police scored a try, it was just one of the best moments of all.
Crossfield just steps beautifully off the left.
Right into minutes of the second half.
She got her hands on the ball early. She's been dangerous every time she's had the.
As Country were now
She
leading
just strolled through the
10-0.
City defence. They lead 10-0.
And of course now, there had to be a conversion attempt.
So Suckley once again moves in. This time it's push right and
But
short.
unlike the first goal, it was
8 minutes till
unsuccessful.
the half-time break here. Leichhardt Oval. Game 2. Shakespeare just straightens it up. On 4.
City's turn was, of course, to have the ball scored right in the goal corner.
On the last now. Haddad across the face. Underneath White. Once again diffuses the situation nicely.
And of course, Country had the ball again. Of course, it was marvellous and massive.
Gets up just
There were only a few minutes left on the clock.
It'll be a big loss if she gets injured, and once again, more than happy to.
As the Country Women's Police had the ball.
Is coming up with Shakespeare. Good shot. She gets up. They get up quickly. This countryside, the play the ball is queuing. Charging through the middle. But
Massive tackles also occurred during the game.
she was just clipped by her opposite number in Briggs. This time that's touch from Sutton charging.
Then
Does she get the bounce? No, she waited for dump. But
the City had the ball.
and the tackle, the ensuing
And of course,
knock it on.
it was a knock-on, as Country had the ball to quickly have a good attempt of having a third try.
Take the scrum in the middle of the field. They're 40 out.
And they certainly were.
Further points. 3 minutes to the half-time break. Here at Leichhardt Oval. Suckling feeds. She picks it up at the back.
And she certainly did. And of course, Country were running.
White, she keeps it alive, pops it up. Tackled on one after some good work off the scrum.
But thankfully, Country scored their third try of the game,
As Joseph takes it
straight on the goal line.
looks up. Which way will she go? She goes back to the short side. Charging onto it, and she scored. She certainly has. That was all too soft again. She just hit a strong hole.
And thankfully, the Country Women Police led 14-0.
Then it was a number 12 for the countryside in Maggie Townsend.
Then it was time for a conversion. And also, it was time for a kick at goal.
So Gabrielle Suckling trying to add the extra.
And also, Sutling tried to kick the football at goal.
Hits that one nicely. No, waved away. It's gone to the right again. It's got plenty of boot on it.
But however, it was unsuccessful. As Country led 14-0 at half time, it was just really good for the Country Women's Police, as they kept their City Women's Police side scoreless without a try.
It's a face ball there. Suckling says, I've had enough of this, and finds clear space.
And she certainly did.
Charging back for the City side. She looks up.
As City ran with the ball,
Brooks in front of her. Brooks, she beats Brooks. She beats another.
she had ran
She gets back to her.
but got tackled right on the ground.
Fullback for the City Police. Gregory. Hinton.
As City tried to have a comeback,
Jumps the mark. Links.
that's what always comes up.
Wide ball and another pass. It's not the best pass.
Thankfully,
Griffin gets it on.
despite that, they were tackled.
The crowd behind her. As
But were tackled by Country.
It's a good ball and all tackle from White. Had to be made. They go
Then
They go the short side and get driven in the touch on the last. Referee doesn't have to worry about that. It's been wrapped up, so it'll be a handover. They're a metre
suddenly a handover to Country
They defended grimly once again.
had to quickly come, indeed.
More than happy to throw a couple of passes. As that ball ends up in Sullivan's hands. Looks for space and finds
And of course,
it.
Sutley kicked the
Gets
ball.
bounce. Back goes
This was a
Harvey.
bounce
Harvey, she's
where
got
City
Duncan,
had the
chooses
ball.
not to use her as White wraps her up. Now Duncan Flirting with that touchline. She straightens it up now. Comes back to the middle of the field. Hinton. Slow the play down this time.
And of course,
Dana gets over halfway.
even though she ran, she was tackled by Country.
Gregory this time, she finds a runner on the edge on the last tackle. Once again, Country's defence hanging on. Links, ducked out a dummy half, puts a player under pressure. Wasn't the best option from the City 9 then. On the last
Then,
tackle, go the tuck.
Country knew what to do. They had to secure a fight back.
Countryside.
As it was the second half, Country led 14-0, just like the half time.
Holstead, good strong run. They go back to the
And a run it
short
was.
side.
Country were of course annihilating City like flies,
Just coming at her. She was hitting.
as Country were of course holding on to the ball and securing a win.
She'll look up, she's got pressure. She looks like she's going to flirt with his touchline. Does well.
City threatened to have a fight back right at the very end.
Referee blows a penalty eventually.
Then a penalty came on. Indeed.
Not holding it, she's gone. She knows there's a little bit of a problem there.
It was a massive penalty indeed.
Shakespeare makes her way back onto the field.
Also, the game continued on.
So the ensuing penalty. Well, that's a mistake there from the City side. That's a bad mistake off the tap.
And of course, Country took the ball by themselves, with City tackled and also losing. Thankfully, it didn't affect Country. And of course, Country's women's police had a good opportunity to run and score more tries.
Suckling spinning out of the tackle goes Pomeroy. Suckling again. Got wide outside of it.
Then
no, she decides, no, she does. Pops it up at the end just as she's about to hit the ground. It'll be a knock on.
a knock on came above. And of course, Country still had the ball. Running and running and running.
Holstead. O'Brien. The markers got to her quickly and wrapped her up as she looked to go. Sullivan will go to dummy half. Joseph puts the kick through. Ball bounces up. Bringing it out. She did a good job, did Ryan. She was met
With the bounce on, it was just massive.
Stay in the field of play. Griffin. Dana Griffin.
With the second half still going on, City still had no points to score. And of course, Country were leading 14-0. Just like the same at half time.
Once again, in this country defence. Withstood all that the city side have thrown at them so far this morning. On the last. Blinks out of dummy half. Sits up nicely though.
Then Country quickly ran with the ball again.
Right in the dummy half. She's got Brooks there. Uses her now.
Both Country holding on with
She pops it on.
the ball.
A nice take from Walker, Brooke Walker. It's back infield.
The Country side still had a good 1-2-C.
Suckling tried to use White, but a City player was just in between them, so she takes it herself from dummy half.
And she certainly was.
White this time. White gets it alive, keeps it alive. She did well. Wrapping back around was Lachlan. Lachlan. Bedford the dummy half. Inside pass, some nice work there. Bedford ends up with it again. Lachlan's come back on. She wants it a bit quicker. Pomery this time. She had runners outside. She eventually dribbles it out the back. A referee rules a knock on.
And it certainly was.
And that'll do.
Back-to-back wins for the first time since 2021, with the Country Women's Police securing 14-0.
They've done well to control the footy on the back of some solid defence.
That's how it stayed, right up at full time.
For this victory. It's the fullback now, Kiara White. She's been good, especially in the first half. Happy that little run around there. They flicked it around the back and Shoulders ends up with it after some good work.
Yep, I did.
From O'Brien.
Yeah.
Once again, the kicking game. She dives.
That's how it stayed, though.
Played up, be sixth again. She's controlled the play.
Yep. Yep.
Beautifully all day is Suckling.
Yep.
Brooks. And Brooks ends up with it.
That's how it stayed, though. The Country Women's Police securing a 14-0 win over the City Women's Police. And of course, Country crowned the 2022 premiers, with the women crowned the premiers for this year. And also, just like the women, the Country Men's Police and the City Men's Police were also well known to arrest a lot of people who did a lot of bad things. And of course, Country secured the first try. With the score at 4-4, the Country Men's Police then later had a kick to come at goal.
So some enterprising play. As you say, the ball sometimes can be your friend, but they had plenty of chases of the kick.
And of course, the kick was successful.
He's the country coach. Looking to add the extras early. Josh Parrish. Not a problem. Flags are raised. 6-0 country lead. 7 gone, first half.
Now, the country men's police were leading 6-0. But just then, a few moments later, country scored their second try.
Ashcroft wrapped up. Penalty.
With country receiving a penalty, all that they had to do was to score their second try.
So it's a relieving penalty to the countryside. They lead 6-0. 9 gone first half. Bouncing out of the tackles, a good strong run just off the tap was Domkin.
And of course, country were treating City like mozzies, as the country men's police were scoring more tries.
Hanging onto the football on this occasion was O'Byrne. Fargaland, flat pass, steps off the right as the front rower in Patterson, and another penalty.
It was another penalty to country. And of course, country had another penalty. And also,
drives onto the quick tap. Can he get it down? No, he's picked up and driven backwards. He was in the in goal.
Why he was picked up.
Fargaland. It's a long pass. Ball finds the ground though. Tough take for Parrish. He cleans it up nicely. Fargaland now. The play the ball's just been slowed down the ruck just enough. Long pass, must score. Easy work there. Sam Paul will get a double.
Paul gave country their second try,
For the countryside after it was a lovely quick shift.
who are now leading 10-0.
And they add numbers. And Paul goes over untouched.
Then, after that, it was time for a kick for conversion of the goal. And it was another successful one for country.
That's just getting a clarification of the number. It was Dave Clark.
As the New South Wales Country and New South Wales City Men's Police were battling it out against each other.
Country 12, leading City yet to score.
As New South Wales' Country Men's Police were now leading 12-0. Then City threatened to have a fight back and a comeback
Up they go, down they come.
as well, and they certainly did.
Flying through. The City wingers in.
City, of course, had their first try scored. But it was not over in the first half. It was a kick to come for conversion.
Be Nathan Cowman looking to add the extras. There's a lovely kick from Jack Davey, the fullback for the City side. Plenty of height. Gave his players enough time, ample time to get there. waved away, just wide of the left hand upright. That could be a crucial miss at the back end of this game. And a little bit of excitement there as far Ely.
Offside, and of course, that's what it was. And that's what led to City scoring their second try.
They tap and go again. As Draper this time.
And it was part of revenge.
Vargas underneath for John. John, strong, very strong. As Matthew Sutton, John scores for the City side, and we've got a ball game back into it. 14-8, kick the cap. Sorry, 12-8, kick the cap.
Now it was 12 points to 8.
Conversion attempt.
There had to be a conversion. And of course, it came right into the goalpost. And it was successful.
This time the flags are in the air. It's 12-10. 12 minutes left till the half.
This time, it was 12-10.
It's his first opportunity.
Then, Country led 12-10 into half-time. But to make matters worse for City, one of their players was badly injured in a tackle that all but went horribly wrong. And of course, City were coming back.
Kalman looks up. He looks right. He looks left. Which way? He comes back to the left. Kalman finds Peacock. Peacock shifts it out the side.
Then,
Nice work. Good finish.
City all but scored their third try.
After a few penalties, they went the short side. And Marcus Creas, as I said, grabs a double.
It all but led to them leading 14 points to 12. Then good things came for Country.
Over the top, that might be a penalty.
The New South Wales Country Men's Police were coming back.
Burn high.
They had to defeat the New South Wales City Men's Police.
Try and get a little bit of interest with this kick.
They had to do a drop kick first. And of course, New South Wales Country scored their fourth try.
Bargaland, he sneaks out a dummy half. He beats one, pops it back. Oh, unfortunately for him, he's popped it back. It's gone straight through the hands of his country.
But however, City had the ball. With plenty of tackles, Country had to tackle City to quickly defend their line.
Marcus. Just seeing the penalty's gone to Country. I'm just seeing what's it called.
But with Country receiving a penalty, it's all become huge.
Thinking it must have been. Might have been the old tunnel ball.
And finally, Country were coming back.
Ashcroft.
They had the ball going.
Durham. Fargaland. He looks up. He just got back there. He thought Durham might have got his hands free. They come back.
But also, Country scored their fourth try.
And he just dives over. He had a look at just opening up behind the play the ball. And Reece Fargaland gets his countryside back in front. And the country boys
But with a kicking conversion to come,
could be 4 in front.
it was just massive for the Country Men's Police. Too good for the City Men's Police. Country were leading by 2. But then kicked a successful goal to make it 18-14.
No problems with the conversion. The flags are in the air.
The Countryside was unstoppable.
They were 9 to go. Country 18. Leeds City 14. After it was 12-10 at half time, Country clinging onto the lead. Burn will step off the right.
Then
off the left. It's going to be hard to stop there.
another try scored by Country. It was their 5th try.
For the Countryside, Connor O'Byrne, I just said earlier, can he put his final stamp on this match? And he certainly has.
O'Byrne scored Country's 5th winning try. O'Byrne scored Country's 5th try. And of course, there had to be a goal for conversion.
Moves in, flags are in the air.
And of course, Country led 24-14. By the time Country had to do it, there was still at about a minute left on the clock. And of course, even though there wasn't enough time left in the final few seconds,
Charging forward once again, Sharrock.
and also by the time the siren went off, it was full time, with the New South Wales Country Men's Police winning the match against the New South Wales City Men's Police 24 points to 14.
Reece Fargaland, a valuable try. It's got the Countryside back into the game.
New South Wales Country's Men's Police were just too good for New South Wales City's Men's Police as the siren wrapped up on full time, with Country beating City 24 to 14.
They're all hugging now, the siren will sound. That's full time here in the men's police game. We'll see the New South Wales Country Police 24 over New South Wales City Police 14.
Thankfully, celebrations had to be on, as the New South Wales Country Men's Police secured a huge 24 to 14 win over their New South Wales City Men's Police side. with the New South Wales Country Men's Police given the trophy, as well as the New South Wales, and also the rest of the team came out as well. Country 24-14 winners over City. Anthony Milford is yet to play a game for the Knights, but the club is considering a move to secure the playmaker to a long-term deal. Coach Adam O'Brien is desperate to add experience and strike power to the Knights' halves, and not just for the remainder of this season. And of course, Milford will take on the Broncos tomorrow at McDonald Jones Stadium. Meanwhile, Knights back rower Mitch Barnett believes the club underachieved the past 2 years and says missing the finals this year is simply not an option. The 28-year-old, who will depart the club to join the Warriors at season's end, was a standout returning from suspension in Newcastle's 16-6 win over Canterbury. The more boosting victory broke a 7-game losing streak and lifted the side off the bottom of the ladder. The club now sits in 14th position, 4 points adrift the top 8, and 6 behind 7th placed Brisbane, who are host tomorrow. Of course, Barnett, who joined the Knights in 2016 after they collected the first of 3 consecutive wooden spoons, said he'll be shattered to miss the finals in his last year. That's it for now. My name's Conklin McLeod. Don't forget, there'll be more right throughout, and of course from all of us here, see you then.